Hello everybody and welcome to our first game, King of the Hill, Episode 9. We have here, playing on the south side of Khan, he is our reigning king and did phenomenally well last week. Playing as the Soviets, it is Prodigli. And on the north side of Khan today, his competitor who didn't get to play last week, but wants to make a big impact this week. Playing as OKW, it is Von Aston. Von Aston is one of these players who has recently just exploded in skill. Probably in the last 6 months we've seen him easily pair up with the top players in this community. And he's an absolute force to be reckoned with. But if you're watching King of the Hill last week, you'll also know that Prodigli suddenly just playing out of his skin. Of course, always with this commander as Soviets. This is one that is serving him very well at the moment. Of course, special thanks to that M42 AT gun. It's a good commander. It's in great hands right now. Von Aston's going to have to do something special to get over this. But this might be the map for him to do that. Of course, Khan is a lot of narrow areas in Khan, a lot of sight blockers. Perhaps not so much room for the M42. Perhaps Von Aston will be able to win this with infantry engagements. You can see Prodigy here. Prodigy. We'll call him Prodigli. Prodigli, of course, Tier 1. Penal Battalion's out. Scout cars coming, so we might be able to expect the M3 Flamer opening, which is very common against OKW due to the lack of having Fausts early. Let's see there, Von Aston just trying to get Volks out on the field as quick as possible. The M3 is up and actually both players just doing sensible capping right now. It looks like both players are just trying to get all the resources they can in at the start of the game. There's nothing too strange happening, but here's our first engagement. Engineers surprise pop into the building. And Von Aston... yeah, doesn't want to fight that engagement. He's just going to go around and not even jump back inside of that building. He's going to try and decap territory. Thought he might want to take building control, but got a mine here. This is sneaky. Early play from Von Aston. Perhaps he expects that the scout car here is going to chase along this path. And it might be a little bit off to the left. Maybe the scout car would go around here. We're not sure. Scout car isn't going to pursue on the right side. Volks Grenadiers here trying to decap the strategic point early on. It gives Prodigli his fuel. And actually what Von Aston does have going for him here is in the early game he can just really try to focus on strategic points. Try and get as many resources as he can in. Perhaps want to try and quick tech up. I imagine that he could be playing mechanized on here, and there's the SWS now. It's about the right time. It's a sensible decision there to make a to make a retreat. He's got a long way to go, and that's really unfortunate. The actual squad had just stopped there entirely on the retreat. One model at the back is taking a lot of the abuse here, but that's going to be a squad wipe. First one. Von Aston immediately losing a squad in the first 4 minutes. Prodigli going to be very, very happy with that. And this is very interesting. Looks like Prodigli going for a green cover position there. Of course, Sturm Pioneers should be able to get in close and help win this engagement. M3 is also on the way. Not 100% sure what that self-charge was for. Prodigli, be careless there with that squad on the retreat. It was the mechanized regiment that is going up in Von Aston's base at the moment. So any second now we could see that Faust unlocked. It's just about to come now. Predictably should know that that's why the Volks Grenadiers are staying around in this engagement. Oh, Predictably didn't want to stay around. Oh, but he finishes it off with the Penal Battalion as they come in. It's another squad wipe for Von Aston, and the start game has been horrible. Shock troops are just arriving. And that probably wasn't worth the risk. Terrible, terrible start for Von Aston in this game. You can actually see that Predictably also mining places. There are absolutely guaranteed units going to be walking there soon. Well, we'll see what Von Aston's plan is here to try and get out from this situation. Really, all Predictably has to do is just kind of sit on the front lines, buy himself as much time as he can. Sit on those sweet resources. This looks like the Stern Pioneer might go down here. Yes, it does. Huge losses. 3 squads now. 6 minutes and 30 seconds in. There just isn't the resources. There isn't the units to deal with this. Couple of mines on the retreat, but it isn't going to make a big difference here. Really, you look to players like Von Aston to deal with kings who are on consecutive streaks, like Predictably is. But this has been an unfortunate start for him. He's constantly getting cut off in his retreats by very strong units. Here comes a potential body block. Shock troops trying to initiate that. Funnily enough, Predictably not capitalizing on his time with the VPs. Could have done a heavy amount of VP damage by this stage. There has not been any field contest from Von Aston at the start. More of these mines going off. So you've got 3 models there, not a bad mine. Now, here's the Lukes for Von Aston. And it's actually not bad having this unit on the field right now. Predictably has a lot of high reinforcement infantry units. And Von Aston can use that to his advantage. If he gets a good play in with the Lukes, he can really prevent Predictably from being able to tech or bring new units onto the field if he keeps that harassment going. I don't know if we just saw... Actually, no tech. There was just the M42 AT gun that's just been called in at the site of the Lukes. But a lot of mines have gone down. A lot of mines have gone down. I think that's why we saw Von Aston bring out the Stern Pioneer squad. And if Von Aston was paying attention then, he will of course have seen mines being laid. He will know what's going on. It's so sad though. It doesn't even have the munitions for this. I think because he has just put medical supply crates back in the base. There's going to be a very long comeback, if at all a comeback, for Von Aston. You can see there that he's trying to go on the left-hand side of the map now for fuel, simultaneously putting some pressure in on the right. The Lukes just seems to be patrolling at the moment, getting some sight. I think actually this is Predictably's mine there on the VP. Need to be careful of that. His M42 AT gun gets a first shot off out stealth. Infiltration grenades completely missed their target. The Lukes is now coming around to try and defend against the shock troops. One of the grenades, Von Aston of course spots that, doesn't go for the retreat. Wasn't baited into that. And this is where the Lukes is really useful, just to be able to try and defend against the shocks. Nice mine which was planted there from Von Aston before. Are we seeing the beginnings? The beginnings of a comeback. Stern Pioneers there, got to capture that fuel. Fuel will start coming in from Von Aston from the left-hand side of the map, and situation is relatively bad. However, if Von Aston gets back into this game, I can see Predictly having to tech, and maybe Predictly was thinking only tech, maybe only tech tier 3 and then go for a KV2. We've seen him do this in a previous game last week against Dev M. Possible that Von Aston may be able to force more tech, drop the fuel down. We're only looking at possibilities right now. Can we see these shocks go down on the retreat? The Lukes looks like it's going to chase and try and get involved too. There's the model at the front that drops. The Lukes is blocking. This has to be a dead shocks. It is, and that's a nice pickup and an absolutely necessary pickup for Von Aston, who's showing great resilience in this game. He has not given up when it has gone so badly at the start. He's at a huge resource disadvantage, but he's still fighting. 42 AT gun. Von Aston is just really having to manage traversing the line of sight as best as he can. See him constantly trying to push that M42 away, and then perhaps bring the Lukes back in. Well, do we see infiltration grenades? There isn't the resources for it. Only just. Lukes, of course, getting repairs by the shock troops. We've got a nice flank here from the Volksgrenadiers in the south. Looks like they were trying to get the infiltration grenades off. And this is, I think, actually, there was a nice little bait there from Predictly, because if he pulls the units back this way and they retreat, they might end up hitting that mine. Puma called in for Von Aston, and it's coming in around the same time as Predictly builds a T-70. As expected, he did tech up to tier 3. And that unit already has a counter on the field. Really, really happy that Von Aston didn't get too triggered at the start game and throw in the towel. He took 3 squad losses within 6 minutes 30 seconds, one of which was the Stern Pioneers. It's a huge loss. But he is absolutely stage strong, now has a very decent army. Very careful when moving around with the Lukes. We don't know what mines. All sorts of mines could have been laid. He already knows that Predictly's been doing that on the right-hand side of the map. And I think here that the engineers see the Puma. So T-70 already knows that's on the field. 42 AT guns force away that Puma straight away. And a bit of support from the T-70 and the sight coming from the engineers. It's a very fierce combination, but of course Khan is quite a close range map, a lot of sight blockers. So the M42s have to do maybe a lot more work than you'd see them do on other maps. Von Aston building a second Lukes in this situation. Can we see the infiltration grenades here? He's going to try it. He's going to try it. It's good. Not good enough, but it was a good attempt. No, we just catch it. 45 kills, 45 losses each. So Von Aston somehow has managed to bring that back. Can't say the same for squad wipes. Von Aston, though, is about to take double fuel and did force the teching from Prodigli. And that's a really, really good thing for Von Aston. Be so careful here. There's that mine on the retreat. Oh, it was so close. Should have known better. I think Von Aston probably panicked a little bit there, just getting away with that. Of course, Von Aston's paying attention. He'll always know that Prodigli's moving around the M42 AT guns together constantly. They're not so great against the armor on their own. He'll get the best value if he really just keeps them together and gets surprise shots off. Maybe catches a vehicle off guard. And Von Aston knows that, then maybe he can work that to his advantage and knows the places to avoid. Just see there the instant fear. Prodigli still able to ground attack if he wants to through the smoke. Von Aston's now being cut off from his fuel. And I think you can see there's good movement here from Prodigli to try and make sure that all these territory cutoffs are covered. Funny, there's still a lot going on in this game. It's certainly not a black and white win just yet. VPs are not too far astray. Of course, one place I think that Von Aston has maybe brought a little bit of a balance here is that he's gone for special operations, and of course that gives him the Command Panther, so he doesn't have to worry about that tier 4 tech. Lukes has to be very careful there. The M42 AT guns open up. It's just so strong. You see here there's a constant defensive line. Mines being built around it. The Stern Pioneers from Von Aston have to do loads of work to spot all of this. And to make it even harder now, the Penals are equipped with the PTRS, allowing them to help be a bit more mobile in fighting the light vehicles that Von Aston's decided to strategize with in this game.
Grenadiers operational.
This is you'd hope that Von Aston maybe could make something of this. I think actually the shocks are still very potent here. There's the grenade as expected and on the retreat path. That's a big grenade. The T-70 here could be instrumental in finishing that squad off, and I think Von Aston perhaps should have known better there. It is a squad wipe. And Prodigli now going for that triple cap. Von Aston's going to be upset with that. Got to be so careful though. That wasn't the first time that Prodigli threw a grenade on the retreat. And just look at how many models went down to that. Well, here's the big push. 2 Lukes with Volksgrenadier support come in for the M42 AT guns. They don't even care about the PTRS on the Penal Battalion. That's a bit close to the Volksgrenadiers for my liking. Lukes actually goes down from that. And decisions here really. The Lukes has to go in perhaps to try and get rear armor shots on the T-70. Puma just needs one more shot to do the T-70, but gets a main gun critical. Now it's down to the Lukes to take down the T-70. Both the Puma and the T-70 go down. big plays from Von Aston. He had to throw everything in to make that happen, but somehow I think he has a little bit of a lead back into the game. What an engagement. Of course, Prodigy very quick to get back on top of the M42 AT gun. Von Aston knows that he has to decrew this immediately before Prodigy gets the arcs so that he can't maneuver around. After that, the question is, can he destroy them completely? Oh no! Luke's goes down. He managed to get the final shot just on the edge of the line of sight. And this is 100% now Prodigly's game. He's very close to getting the KV2. There is really nothing that Von Aston is going to be able to field in the next 5 minutes that is going to be able to deal with that. All he has is the Raketen. And now we really are just waiting for the arrival of that KV2 with more mines being planted. And I really like this. Prodigy is just making sure he's got all his avenues covered, even at this stage of the game. But here it is. Sounds very tinny and silent. I think that's very underwhelming. Here we go. Let's give it some engine power. So nice early grenade from the shocks there. They managed to take the gunner down, allowing them to get in close range with the PPSHs. Main gunner down, and now the Volks Grenadiers are left to try and make something of this. Shocks look like they're going to get away pretty unharmed, and the KV2 comes in. First sight of this. Actually, very underwhelming.
Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
And yeah, like we said, there really is nothing to match up to the KV2 here. Von Aston's going to go for a Raketen. And Raketens will certainly help whilst we wait for the Command Panther. Nice infiltration grenades. Wondering if we'll actually see the KV2 set up at any point. Immediate counterfire on that Raketen. There's good suppression there. This is nice from Von Aston with the MG34. Smoke grenade goes up, but it's enough time to allow the Raketen to escape. Of course, second one has now hit the field. And what we really need to see is the Volks Grenadiers get here with a Faust. At the same time, Von Aston's trying to get resources back in as quick as possible. I think Prodigy there may be sensing that flanking is going on. There's no munitions, of course, for any... I'm not sure if we've just had medical supplies dropped there, but no munitions for Von Aston at this point. So he actually can't Faust now at this stage, which I think would have been ideal. We absolutely have to see it here. We're not too far off of the Command Panther. Probably going to be starting that climb now, and the opportunity to Faust, I think, has been missed. Von Aston is trying to bring in as much fuel as he can. He's at least got the 1 VP. Prodigy completely missing an opportunity there to put more VP pressure on Von Aston. So stealthy. KV2 just taking bits of the scenery with it as trophies. Very easy squad wipe outside the base for Von Aston. The two Raketens now aligned in a good position. The question is, can the Faust go off? When Aston really doesn't walk around that... doesn't want to walk around that corner. He does. Takes a huge hit from the KV2. And M42 AT guns. Just kind of picking away. And again, just coming up close now to Command Panther. And when the Command Panther does come in, it's limited time. I don't know if he's really got... I don't know if he's really got time to actually do anything with this, but here it is. The Raketans are trying to stealth around. The flares have gone up. So actually the Raketans do have the sight lines. They're trying to be careful right now of the shock troops. And I think they're about to start opening up. Here we go! Von Aston. It's now or never. It gets it! It gets the KV2. There's an engine damage on the Command Panther. That could be repaired, of course, by the Stern Pioneers. But that's a good play there from Prodigy. Sorry, from Von Aston. Raketans, of course, do get wiped. Prodigy's got enough manpower to recrew that with shocks. That should tell you something. Now, can enough be done with the remaining Volks? Do have Volks Grenadiers on the retreat that came down. I like this from Von Aston. He's still hungry for this game. And he might be able to get the last member decrewed on the machine gun. So unfortunate not to get that.
Enemy contact! Get the hell out of there!
Enemy forces are neutralizing a sector.
Wow, those AT guns are just tracking infantry units. That looked like a grenade perhaps went off there and finished off the Volks Grenadiers on the right hand side. You've got to feel so bad for Von Aston, and I can feel he's really putting everything he has into this game. And we're not too far away now from another KV2. I think Von Aston would be lucky to get the same performance off again. He's going to go for VPs whilst he has time.
The enemy is taking what we have secured.
May as well clear them all now.
The enemy has cut off a sector.
Well, you can see there, losing the KV2 is a big deal for Prodigy, but he can bring it in now, and actually it is back KV2.2. The return of KV2.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
This here is just really problematic, actually. The 3 now M42 AT guns. Sorry, actually, this one is a Raketan. Sorry, my mistake. But 2 M42 AT guns and the Raketan is a very formidable moving front line. Don't often see this. The Command Panther is being used to push the shock troops out of the territory point that would decap the fuel, and also use the the Pintle MG to try and deal with this unit. And this smells of desperation to me. Didn't get much out of that.
Yes. The sector is at least.
A little bit of counter-aggression there. Volks Grenadiers come in, support the Command Panther. Predictably deciding now whether he holds the middle and the right VPs or whether he wants to continue fighting with Von Aston. Go up to the left side. Of course, he doesn't want Von Aston to get back into this game by any means. And Lux is in the build right now.
75 points remaining. Tactical adjustments need to be made.
I would love to see forward headquarters. I'm surprised we haven't seen this used and abused yet. Who wouldn't want frontline healing for those M42 AT guns, right? Oh, here come the flares. We just saw that Von Aston's hauled those down in the center. That gives away the position. Also, Von Aston sees that mines are being laid down again. Going to have to rely on the Stern Pioneers to front this engagement. Of which they kind of are. Beautiful play there, actually. We just caught the MG34 suppressing the shocks whilst the Stern Pioneers went in and did some close range damage. That is a big hit from the KV2. Vet 5 Volksgrid has got to get out of the center. Oh! What was that? Was that a demo charge, perhaps, hidden around the corner? Wow, I think he probably just managed to hide that around the player's camera. Very sneaky. Mark target now on from the Command Panther. KV2 doesn't really feel it needs to be careful, but the Luke's now on the field is able to go around the back and start causing chaos to the M42 AT guns, pulling the sight a little bit. Von Aston is just trying to work the ground attack feature to try and shoot projectiles through the walls to get anything, just about anything on that KV2. Just saw the Lukes there immediately trigger 2 mines and go down. And Von Aston has got to be more careful than that. In fact, he's going to throw in the towel. That was a great attempt after a tragic start, but very well played by both players in that game. Predictably remains our king.